Okay, good day, grade 9 students. So, welcome to the school year 2020-2021. So, I'm going to introduce myself for those who still do not know me. My name is Rafael or Balmas, and I am your Math 9 teacher starting this day till the end of this school year. So, in this video, we are going to talk about, syempre, yung subject natin, Mathematics 9, Quarter 1, the topics for weeks 1 and 2, which is the lesson number 1, which is all about solving quadratic equations. So before we talk about our topic, I would like you to be reminded and I would like you to keep this in your mind. So to do well in this module, you need to remember and do the following. Number 1, always follow the instructions and directions given by your teacher or by me and the instructions in your modules. Number 2, supplement yourself with other learning materials available and necessary. Hindi lang kasi yung pinoprovide namin na video tutorial, yung module nyo, yung pwede nyo maging source ng information and knowledge. Pero pwede rin kayong mag-search sa internet or yung mga ibibigay ko na ibang video tutorial galing sa ibang teachers na nakapost sa YouTube, ibibigay ko lang yung link sa inyo. So you need to supplement yourself para mas maging better yung learnings na makukuha nyo sa Mathematics 9. Number 3, your success in this module depends on how much effort you put into doing the activities. Hindi siya nakadepend sa effort ng teachers, sa effort ng parents nyo, kundi sa effort na binibigay nyo or ini-exert nyo sa inyong pag-answer ng module at pag-study. Again, your success in this module depends on how much effort you put into doing the activities. So here is the most essential learning competency. So in each lessons we got, guys, we always have the most essential learning competencies or the so-called, tinatawag ko nga siyang learner's target. Ito yung objective natin na dapat natin makuha at the end of the lesson. Okay? So number 1, we have your letter A, illustrate quadratic equations. Letter B, solve quadratic equations by. So there are 4 methods. The first one is extracting the square roots, factoring, completing the square, and the last one is using the quadratic formula. So we have 4 methods for the objective number 2 and 1. And for the objective number 1, we are just going to define what is quadratic equations, describe kung ano ba si quadratic equations. So before we start, I would like you to grab your my distance learning body book, first quarter, and open it on page 160. And please grab your activity, your notebook so that you can take note the most important parts of our discussion. Or pwede rin i-highlight nyo na lang kasi yung book sa inyo naman yan, pwede nyo i-highlight gamit lang yung ballpen para matandaan yung pinaka-importanteng part ng lessons. So let's start. So, wait, there are 4 different parts pala itong lesson 1. Kasi yung lesson 1, masyadong mahaba yung topic. Yung lesson 1, masyado siyang, let's say, complicated yung topic kung sasabay-sabayin ko. So, i-divide ko siya into 4 parts. Where in these 4 parts, for the week number 1, I am going to give you the part 1 and part 2. For the week number 2 naman, yung part 3 and part 4 para hindi kayo mahirapan sa pagsagot ng activities sa ating lesson number 1. So the part 1 is all about solving quadratic equations and solving by extracting the square roots. The part 2 is all about solving by factoring. Part 3 solving by completing the square, and the part 4 is solving by using the quadratic formula. So lesson 1, weeks 1 and 2. So the part 1, which is all about solving quadratic equations muna. So what is a quadratic equation? Ano ba si quadratic equation? Di ba nung grade 8 kayo, we already talk about grade 7 pa lang, pinag-usapan na natin ano yung equation. Then pagka grade 8 nyo, nag-focus tayo sa linear equation. So yung equations, guys, this is a group of terms wherein we have the left side and the right side. Then yung left side and right side, dapat magawa natin equal siya. An equation is composed of variables and constant, or pwede rin constant and variable na combine siya. So yung constant, siya yung numerical coefficient, yung variable naman siya yung literal coefficient or yung mga letters. Then, yung linear equation naman, linear equation is an equation na nasa first degree. So yung parts ng linear equation lang is si linear term at si constant term. So, balik tayo. Ano ba si quadratic equation? So, quadratic equation is a second degree equation. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng second degree equation? Since the highest exponent of a term of the equation is 2, it means yung variable class, yung exponent ng variable, yung pwedeng maging highest exponent lang is 2. So, pwede siyang maging 1, pwede siyang maging 2, or wala siyang exponent. Pero pag mas larger siya or higher siya sa 2, hindi na siya mako-considered as a quadratic equation. Again, a quadratic equation is a second degree equation. So here are some examples. So we have here example of quadratic equations. The first one is x squared plus 8x is equals to 20. So the highest exponent here is 2 ng variable x. It means it is a quadratic equation. The second example, x squared is equals to 9. So same lang, second degree equation din siya. And the last example is 0 is equals to z squared plus z minus 180. So second degree equation din siya. So it means quadratic equation. And dahil yan, binigyan ko kayo ng example ng mga quadratic equations, syempre, papakitaan ko rin kayo ng examples ng mga non or not a quadratic equation. So the first one here is 8x is equals to 20. 8x is equals to 20, yung highest exponent natin is 1. It means hindi siya quadratic equation, kundi linear equation. The next one here, we have here the cube of x is equals to 27. So, yung highest exponent here is 3. It means hindi siya second degree equation, hindi siya quadratic equation. And the last one example sa natin quadratic equation is 0 is equals to 0 raised to 5 plus z squared minus 180. Had the highest exponent is 5, so hindi siya quadratic equation. So, a quadratic equation in one variable. Sir, bakit ba may tinatawag na quadratic equation in one variable? Kasi guys, yung quadratic equation, pinag-usapan natin yung variable, pwedeng magkaroon lang ng one variable. It means yung mga terms nandiyan sa equation, iisang letter lang yung ginagamit. For example, lahat ng letters doon is puro lang x. Pwede rin mangyaring maging two variable siya, pwede siya maging x and y, a or b, any combination ng two letters. So, a quadratic equation in one variable takes the general form ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. So, in the equation class, meron siyang different parts. Again, a quadratic equation, yung general form niya or yung pinaka-general niya na form is the ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. Meron siyang different parts, yung general form. So, ano ba yung mga parts? So, here are the parts. We have here the ax squared is the quadratic term. The bx is the linear term. And c is the constant term. Again, class, ax squared is the so-called quadratic term. Bakit ba siya naging quadratic term? Kasi yung exponent niya is 2. Bx is the linear term. Bakit siya tinawag na linear term? Kasi yung highest exponent niya lang is 1. And the last one is the constant term. Tinawag siyang constant term kasi stand-alone number lang siya. Wala siyang kasamang variable. Also, x is the variable and a, b, c are the real numbers where a should not be equal or cannot be equal to 0. So, explain ko naman yung second statement natin. So, x guys is the variable na ginamit dito sa ating general form. Pero yung general form class, hindi yan ibig sabihin na lagi na lang yung one variable na gagamitin natin is si x. Pwede maging y, pwede maging a, pwede any letter na nasa alphabet. Basta small letters yung paglagay natin sa ating quadratic equation. Then si ABC naman class, this ABC are the real numbers. Pag sinabing real numbers, these are the numerical coefficients ng ating variables. Real number siya, pwede siya maging fraction, pwede siyang maging decimal, pwede siyang maging integer. Okay? And always remember class, yung A natin, hindi pwedeng maging equal to 0. Kasi yung quadratic term natin, isipin nyo class yung quadratic term natin is ax squared. Yung quadratic term, siya yung rason bakit siya tinawag na quadratic equation kasi nasa sa kanya yung highest exponent na 2. Kung yung a natin maging equal to 0, kung 0 times x squared, magiging 0 siya, mawawala si quadratic term. So, hindi na siya pwedeng matawag na quadratic equation. So, let's continue. So, there are different forms of a quadratic equation. So, you already know the first form, which is the general form. So, ano pa ba yung ibang uri ng form ng quadratic equation? Excuse. A quadratic equation can take any of these forms. Now, number 1, we have here ax squared is equal to c. So, the name of this form is the quadratic equation with no linear term. So, bakit ba sinabi na walang linear term? Kasi hindi nyo naman nakita si bx, right? Walang bx, walang linear term, kaya siya tinawag na quadratic equation with no linear term. The second one is ax squared plus bx is equals to c. So, this form is the standard form of the quadratic equation. So, yung napansin nyo, yung nangyari lang kay standard form, kung i-compare natin siya dun sa ating general form, yung ating constant is tinranspose lang or tinransfer lang natin to the right of the equal sign. Kaya siya tinawag na standard form. And the third, and the last form is the general form. So, alam nyo na itong general form. Ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. So, the values of x that makes the ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0 true are the solutions or roots of the quadratic equation. So, later on, as we continue the discussion, magsusolve na tayo ng quadratic equation. So, paano ba mag-solve? Hanapin natin yung values ni x. Wherein, yung values ni x na gagawing true yung statement or gagawin niyang equal yung right side at left side ng quadratic equation, ang tawag sa kanila are solutions or roots of the quadratic equation. So, let's continue. So, let us start solving quadratic equations. Methods in solving quadratic equation. So, you already know, kasi sinabi ko kanina sa learning objectives na we have 4 methods. So, the first one is the extracting the square root, the factoring for number 2, number 3 is completing the square, and number 4 is using the quadratic formula. So, let's start by the method number 1, by solving using the method number 1. So, solving quadratic equations by extracting the square roots. So, solving by extracting the square roots, so the general form of a quadratic equation x squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where b is equals to 0 and a is equals to 1, can take the form of x squared is equals to c. Diba, yung general form natin is ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. Si b naging equal to 0 siya. So, yung b times x or 0 times x magiging 0, mawawala na si linear term. Then, while yung a natin is equals to 1, so 1 times x squared, the remaining term will be x squared. Then, i-transpose natin si c, so makuha natin yung form na x squared is equals to c. And has 2 possible solutions. So, yung form daw ng quadratic equation na transform na natin into x squared is equals to c has 2 possible solutions. So, the 2 possible solutions are x is equals to positive square root of c or x is equals to negative square root of c. Or pwede natin siya i-combine into 1 or x is equals to positive negative square root of c, where c is a non-negative real number. So again, class, explain ko lang bakit ba sinasabi na si c hindi dapat siya maging non-negative real number. Kasi pag nag-square root kayo ng integer number na negative sa loob ng square root, for example, square root of negative 1, ang answer na makuha natin is imaginary numbers, hindi na siya real numbers. Okay? Okay, for example, number 1, para mas maintindihan nyo kung paano ba gamitin sa extracting the square root. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng statement sa box dito na sin-explain, sir? Ano yung x squared is equals c? So, here's the example number 1. So, we are now going to solve x squared is equals to 36. So, explain muna natin yung given. Si x squared is equals to 36 class. Kung nakita nyo siya, yung form niya na naka-explain kanina din doon sa ating statement na binasa, x squared is equals to 36 is ang form niya nakuha is the x squared is equals to c. Right? Kinapin niya lang yung form. Kasi class, extracting this squared is only applicable kung yung quadratic equation is natin is nasa form na x squared is equals to c. Pag nasa x squared is equals to c lang na siya na form, pwede natin gamitin sa extracting the square root. Diyan lang applicable sa extracting the square root. Pero pag yung ating form is nasa quadratic term, in standard form or general form, hindi applicable sa extracting the square roots. Again, class, ulit-ulitin ko to. Extracting the square roots is only applicable for solving a quadratic equation kung yung quadratic equation is nasa form na x squared is equals to 36. So, let's go back to solving. Again, we're going to solve x squared is equals to 36. So, let's start. So, first, let's copy the given, which is x squared is equals to 36. So, let's get the square root of both sides of the equation kasi yung x squared is equals to 36 nasa simplified form siya. So yung gagawin na lang natin is to get the square root of the both sides of the equation. So the square root of x squared is equals to positive negative square root of 36. Class, please don't forget to write the plus minus sign, the positive and negative sign before the square root of 36. Kasi sabi nga, there are two possible solutions for the form x squared is equals to c. Kaya may positive and negative sign siya dyan. So, separate natin para dito kasi yung solving ko sa example number 1, masyado siyang long method pa. Long method siya kasi parang iniisa-isa ko yung step. So, wala pa akong ginagawang masyadong part na parehas lang naman. Kinakat ko na yung ibang step. So, basta tignan nyo na lang sa pag-solve. So, we have here x is equals to positive square root of 36. And the other part is x squared. X is equals to negative square root of 36. So, class, explain ko ulit, yung square root of x squared is x. Kaya yung nakita nyo sa next part ng ating solution, x na lang yung natira. Then, kinapin natin si square root of 36, then yung negative square root of 36. So, let's start solving. X is equals to the square root of 36. So, the square root of 36 is 6. So, the first root is x is equals to 6. The next one, the second part is x is equals to negative square root of 36. So the second root is x is equals to negative 6. Therefore, the roots of the quadratic equation x squared is equals to 36 are 6 and negative 6. So ito na yung magiging answer natin. Yung x equals to 6 and x equals to negative 6, pwede natin siya i-combine into 1. So pwede siyang maging x is equals to positive negative 6. So another, for checking part, okay class, regarding the solving of the quadratic equations, there's always the last part, yung pinaka-importanting part, yung checking. Kasi dito class sa checking, pag nag-solve kayo, sabihin natin confident kayo na tama yung answer nyo. Pero mas magiging confident kayo, mas magiging accurate yung answer na nakuha nyo kung i-perform nyo si checking. So, paano ba i-perform sa checking? So, ganito lang yung gagawin. First, let's copy the root number 1, yung answer na nakuha natin. Let x be equal to 6. Then, let's copy the original equation from the problem, which is x squared is equals to 36. So, yung gagawin nyo ng class, i-substitute natin yung value ni x na equals to 6 sa ating variable x. So, magiging 6 squared is equals to 36. 6 squared is equals to 36. So, 36 is equals to 36, which makes the equation true. So, 100% sure tayo na si x equals to 6 is a root of the equation. So, let's check the second root. We have here let x be equal to negative 6. So, copy the original equation, which is x squared equals to 36. Substitute the value of x. So, negative 6 squared is equals to 36. Negative 6 squared, negative 6 times negative 6, the answer is positive 36 equals to 36, which is true. So, it means 100% sure tayo na yung two roots of the equation, the two roots that we got from solving the quadratic equation, which is 6 and negative 6, is 100% accurate or 100% true na siya yung solution or roots of the equation, quadratic equation x squared is equals to 36. Okay, we have here example number 2. So for example number 2, kung napansin niyo, yung value ng a natin is not equal to 1, kundi 4 na siya. So let's solve. 4x squared is equals to 16. So ano ba yung method dito? So sa method dito class, kasi yung a natin is equals to 4 na, meron lang tayong additional steps. So please listen carefully. So let's copy the given. 4x squared is equals to 16. Then, we are going to divide both sides of the equation by 4. Bakit ba kailangan i-divide both sides by both sides of the equation by 4? Kasi yung a natin is equals to 4. Supposedly, sa left side, dapat yung matira lang is si x squared. Wala siyang ang constant lang dapat nakasama niya is 1. Right? Mawala si 4. So, paano ba maalis yan si 4? So, it can be removed by dividing both sides of the equation by 4. Kaya nakuha natin si 4x squared divided by 4 is equals to 16 divided by 4. So, i-divide na natin. 4x squared divided by 4, the answer is 1. Then, 16 divided by 4, the answer is 4. That's why the next line of our solution, the answer is 1 times x squared, the answer is x squared, equals to 16 divided by 4, which is equals to 4. So what is the next step? So the next step, kasi nasa simplified form na siya, pwede na natin kunin yung square root of both sides of the equation. So the square root of x squared is equals to positive negative square root of 4. So the value of x is equals to positive negative 2, or x is equals to positive 2 and x equals to negative 2. So therefore, the roots of the quadratic equation 4x squared is equal to 16 are 2 and negative 2. Okay, let's perform the checking. Again, let's copy the answers or the roots that we got from solving. So let x equals to 2. Copy the original equation, the original quadratic equation from the problem. 4x squared is equal to 16. Substitute the value of x, so it will turn into 4 times 2 squared is equal to 16. 2 squared is equals to 4. So 4 times 4, the answer is 16 is equals to 16, which is true. The next one, let x be equals to negative 2. Copy the original equation. Substitute the value of x. So 4 times negative 2 squared equals to 16. So negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. So 16 is equals to 16, which is true. So again, 100% sure tayo na yung roots of the equation na 2 and negative 2 na nakuha natin are the solutions of the quadratic equation 4x squared is equals to 16. Okay, example number 3. Okay, for example number 3, kung na-notice nyo, same pa rin yung a natin is greater than 1, so 3 na siya. Then, meron tayong dalawang constant. So, ano ba yung gagawin dyan, sir? So, simple lang. Copy the equation. 3x squared plus 1 is equals to 28. Then, group the similar terms and simplify it by performing the operations. So, pag sinabi natin class na group the similar terms, yung lahat ng terms na may variable will stay on the left side. At yung mga terms naman na constant lang or constant terms will be moved to the right side. So, yung plus 1 or yung positive 1 or plus 1, we need to transpose it to the right side of the equation. So, paano ba yung paglipat niyan? So, yung gagawin lang, commonly, yung teachers namin ng elementary at high school, yung tinuturo sa amin is to just simply transpose. Or yung definition ng transpose is to transfer it to the other side ng equal. So, yung plus 1, pag transpose natin siya class, mag-change yung kanyang sign. So, magiging minus 1 na siya or negative 1. Kung negative 1 naman lang, negative 1 siya dito, then transpose natin, magiging positive 1 siya. Again, always remember class, pag nag-transpose tayo ng terms, mag-change yung sign niya from plus to minus or positive to negative, from minus to plus or negative to positive. Always remember that class, pag mag-transpose, mag-change yung sign. And yung pag-transpose class, applicable lang siya sa plus at minus. Hindi siya applicable sa multiplication and division. So ito na nga na-transpose na natin, nag-group na natin yung similar terms. Yung kalabasan is 3x squared is equals to 28 minus 1. Then after that, i-perform na natin yung operation or simplify. So 28 minus 1, the answer is 27. That's why yung kalabasan dito sa next line of the solution is 3x squared is equals to 27. So ano ba yung next step? So yung next step, we need to remove the value of a from x squared. So paano ba siya ma-remove? So we are just going to divide both sides of the equation by 3. So 3x squared divided by 3 is equals to 27 divided by 3. So 3x squared divided by 3, the answer is 1. Then 27 divided by 3, the answer is 9. That's why, yung kalabasan naman sa next line of our solution, x squared is equals to 9. Then ano ba yung next step? So the next step will be get the square roots of both sides of the equation. Kasi yung a natin is equals to 1 na stand-alone na lang si x squared, pwede na natin i-find yung square root ng both sides. So the square root of x squared is equals to the square root of 9. So the square root of x equals to x, and the square root of 9 is positive and negative 3. So the answer is x is equals to positive negative 3. Therefore, the roots of the quadratic equation 3x squared plus 1 is equals to 28 are 3 and negative 3. So let's perform the checking. Copy the root number 1, let x be equal to 3. Copy the original equation, which is 3x squared plus 1 is equals to 28. Substitute the value of x, which is 3, to the equation. So, ang kalabasan is 3 times 3 squared plus 1 is equals to 28. 3 squared is equals to 9. So, 3 times 9 plus 1 is equals to 28. 3 times 9 is 27. 27 plus 1, the answer is 28. So, 28 is equals to 28. So, it is true. Let x be equals to negative 3. 3x squared plus 1 is equal to 28. Substitute the value of x, which is negative 3. So 3 times negative 3 squared plus 1 is equals to 28. Negative 3 squared is 9. 3 times 9 is 27. 27 plus 1 is equals to 28. So 28 is equals to 28. So true din. So again, 100% sure again tayo na yung roots na nakuha natin na x equals to 3 and negative 3 is 100% sure tayo is na solution set siya ng quadratic equation na 3x squared plus 1 is equals to 28. So, we have here example number 4. If you notice class, marami akong prepare na examples. So, yung reason ko dito kasi, there are some situations na yung mga examples na nasa books or yung examples na tinuturo ng ibang teacher is not enough. There are kasi some situations kasi na sa problem or yung mga pinapasolve, hindi naman kayo nabigyan ng example. Kaya yung ginawa ko dito kasi nga online class, mahirap yung pag-engage or magkaroon ng communication na yung pag-explain lalo na pag math. So ginawa ko na lang, dadamihan ko na lang yung examples. Wherein yung mga examples ko is sure ako na may makita kayong relativity or connection sa mga problems na ibibigay dito sa activities sa inyong module. So, let's continue. For example, number 4. So, solve 3 times x minus 1 squared is equals to 12. So, copy the given. 3 times x minus 1 squared equals to 12. So, simplify the equation. Ito yung first step na gagawin natin. Simplify the equation by dividing both sides by 3. So that the remaining term on the left side will be the square terms inside the parentheses. So, yung kailangan muna natin gawin is to remove the value of a, which is 3. Para yung remaining term daw sa left side is the terms inside the parentheses, which is the x minus 1 squared. So, let's perform the step number 1. 3 times x minus 1 squared divided by 3 is equals to 12 divided by 3. So, 3 divided by 3, the answer is 1. So, 1 times x minus 1 squared. So, the remaining term on the left side will be x minus 1 squared. Then, 12 divided by 3, the answer is 4. So, yung kalabasan ng next slide natin is x minus 1 squared is equals to 4. So, what will be the next step? So, sir, ano ba yung next na gagawin natin? Kasi yung nasa loob ng parentheses may x minus 1. Mag-square root na ba? Or hindi pa? So, the next step will be get the square roots of both sides of the equation. So, pwede na natin kunin yung square root ng both sides ng equation. Bakit ba pwede na? Kasi guys, yung terms naman na nasa left side, may x and x minus 1 pa. Pero nasa loob sila ng parentheses, it means yung x minus 1 is cover sila ng square. So, pwede na natin i-perform yung pag-get ng square root ng both sides. So, the square root of x minus 1 squared is equals to positive negative square root of 4. So, yung square root of x minus 1 squared, pag yung square class is in square root natin, mawawala lang yung square root s square. Pero yung term sa loob ng square root is remain. So, the remaining term on the left side will be x minus 1. And for the right side, you have positive negative square root of 4. So, the square root of 4 is positive negative 2. So, the result will be x minus 1 is equals to positive negative 2. Sir, ano yung next step? So, the next step will be solve the linear equation. Sir, bakit ba sir solve the linear equation? If you notice class, yung equation na part na itong part na to, wait, nag-disconnect yung mouse ko. Yung part na x minus 1 is equals to positive negative 2, linear equation na siya. So, pwede natin i-separate into two groups of linear equation dahil meron tayong positive and negative 2. So, yung gagawin lang class, magiging x minus 1 is equals to positive 2. Then, the other one is x minus 1 is equals to negative 2. Then, i-perform na natin yung solving. So let's solve first the first linear equation that we got, wherein si positive 2 yung binasehan. X minus 1 is equals to positive 2. Transpose the constant negative 1 or group the similar terms. X is equals to 2 plus 1. So the answer is the first root will be x is equals to positive 3. The next one, x minus 1 is equals to negative 2. So transpose negative 1, it will become plus 2. So x is equals to negative 2 plus 1. So the second root will be x is equals to negative 1. Therefore, the roots of the quadratic equation 3 times x minus 1 squared is equals to 12 are 3 and negative 1. So let's perform the checking. So the first root is positive 3. Copy the original equation, which is 3 times x minus 1 squared is equals to 12. Substitute the value of x na 3. So 3 times 3 minus 1 squared is equals to 12. 3 minus 1, the answer is 2. So 3 times 2 squared is equals to 12. 2 squared is equals to 4. So 3 times 4 is equals to 12. So 12 is equals to 12. So true siya. Then for the second root, we have let x be equals to negative 1. Substitute the value of x, so it will turn into 3 times negative 1 minus 1 squared is equals to 12. So negative 1 minus 1, the answer is positive. Negative 2. So negative 2 squared, the answer will be positive 4. So 3 times 4, the answer is 12. So 12 is equals to 12. So 100% sure again tayo na yung positive 3 and negative 1 are the roots of the equation 3 times x minus 1 squared is equals to 12. So that's the end of our lesson number 1, end of the example. So we have 4 examples class. Wherein yung 4 examples, I give you 4 situations. Wherein siya yung magiging basis nyo sa pag-solve ng ating activities. Pero before giving the page number and the number of activities na sasagutan nyo, let's talk about let's remember. So pakitandaan, we have here the general form of the quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0, where b is equal to 0 can take the form ax squared is equals to c, which is yung form na to, it's tinatawag again na quadratic equation with no linear term. Simplify ax squared is equal to c until it is reduced to the form x squared is equal to c. Then determine its two possible roots, which is square root of c and negative c, where c is a non-negative real number. And again, class, ulitin ko na naman, the solving by extracting this square root is only applicable pag yung quadratic equation natin is nasa form na quadratic equation with no linear term na ax squared is equals to c. Doon yung ax squared is equals to c, kailangan natin siya is to i-change into the simplest form na x squared is equals to c, then doon na natin i-perform yung extracting the square root. So next one, the next statement is simplify the roots if necessary and check them for accuracy. So yung pinaka-purpose talaga ng checking is para tumaas yung accuracy natin into 100%. 100% sure tayo na tama yung roots of the equation na nakuha natin by performing the extracting the square root on the quadratic equation. So here are the list of activities that you are going to answer. So please answer the following. Paki-take note or paki-screenshot nito. Or isulat nyo na lang sa papel or markahan nyo na lang yung module nyo kung ano yung sasagutan nyo. So answer the following. Let's practice A on page 163. You are just going to answer numbers 1 to 4 only. Then for the let's practice B on page 163 again, you are just going to answer numbers 1 to 4 only. So it's a total of 8. 8 lang, 8 items lang. 1 to 4 sa let's practice A and 1 to 4 sa let's practice B. So where are you going to write your answers? So write your answers in a one whole sheet of paper. In your one whole sheet of paper, ngayon ko lang to explain, paulit-ulit na lang. Same lang ng last year na tinuro ko sa inyo. In your one whole sheet of paper, in this corner of the paper sa upper right, syempre yung name nyo, right? Your name, Kasi, okay, basta upper right corner is your name. Sa harap ng name nyo is the date. Then sa baba ng name nyo is your grade and section. Then sa harap ng grading section nyo will be the name of the activity. Then sa gitna niyan, sa baba naman ng two lanes na yan is parang dito na part will be the name of the subject. Please don't forget to write the date, your name, your grade and section, and the name of the activity. Okay? So, this will be the end of the lesson number 1, part 1, which is all about the solving quadratic equations and the method number 1, which is extracting the square root. So, on the next video, we're going to talk about method number 2, which is factoring. So, thank you guys for listening and please watch the part 2 kasi kailangan nyo i-watch yung part 2 kasi kailangan sagutan nyo yung activities niya kasi under pa rin siya ng lesson number 1, week 1 lesson. So, thank you class.